Hi there and welcome back to chemistry. My name is Jeremy Krug, and in this series of videos we're learning about solution chemistry. And as we probably know, an important type of solutions in chemistry are acids and don't forget bases as well. So in this video we're giving an introduction to acids and bases. If you like what you see, please consider smashing that like button. I would really appreciate that. And consider subscribing. That way you don't miss a thing here on my channel. This is the place for all things honors chemistry and AP chemistry. So let's jump right into our discussion of acids and bases. Now this is a very simple description or definition of acids and bases, but we know probably from our prior knowledge that acids are known for being able to corrode things, especially corroding metals. They will actually eat through a lot of metals. And also, they're often used for cleaning other materials as well. I'm not encouraging you to go chomping down on the chemicals or anything, but there are some acids that we actually do use in our foods. For example, vinegar. Perhaps you've put that on a salad or on a sandwich. Or citric acid, very commonly found in lemons or in lemon juice. These acids have a sour taste. And so generally speaking, acids do have a sour taste. On the other hand, bases are generally known for their cleansing properties. For example, soap or lye soap. These are used for cleaning things, perhaps cleaning your body, cleaning your hands, cleaning clothing. Also drain cleaner. It's known for, cleaning out or getting drains unclogged. So bases are known for cleaning things up, generally speaking. And once again, I'm not encouraging you to get chemicals on your fingers, but if you were to get a base on your fingers, it would feel slippery between your fingers. Soap is a really good example of this. It's a base. It has basic properties. And if you take that soap and rub it between your fingers, it feels kind of slick or slippery, doesn't it? In the laboratory, sometimes we work with sodium hydroxide solution. I always have to tell my students, be very careful, because if you feel that sodium hydroxide get on your fingers, it's going to feel very slippery or slick. And so you have to wash your hands to get all of that base off your fingers, otherwise it'll start to burn you. So yes, acids and bases are very important types of solutions that we use in chemistry. Now, before we get too far into this, let's define an acid. Now, in its most simple definition, we can say that an acid is anything that produces hydrogen ions, H plus ions, in a solution. And generally speaking, that means that its formula is going to most likely have a hydrogen on the front of it. So that would include compounds like hydrochloric acid, HCl, or hydrofluoric acid, HF, nitric acid, HNO3, acetic acid, which we often call vinegar, HC2H3O2, or sulfurous acid. We have carbonic acid, which is carbonated water. And so there we have some good examples of acids. On the other hand, bases, in their simplest definition, include anything that produces hydroxide ions in a solution. So in its simplest form, we can say that a base is going to have a formula that ends with OH, or that hydroxide ion. So things like sodium hydroxide, or calcium hydroxide, or potassium hydroxide, anything that ends with the hydroxide ion that's an ionic compound is probably going to be a base. Now, where did these definitions come from? Well, these definitions were first produced by the Swedish chemist Svante Arrhenius early in the 20th century. He came up with these descriptions, and it's interesting that people had known about acids and bases for thousands of years. Acids and bases have been used by civilizations and cultures long time ago. The Roman Empire knew about acids, but it wasn't until we get all the way to the fairly early 1900s, the 20th century, where chemists like Svante Arrhenius actually start coming up with chemical definitions of what is an acid, what makes a base, what makes an acid an acid. And so, yes, Arrhenius came up with these. Now, we sometimes call compounds that start with hydrogen Arrhenius acids, kind of in his honor. These Arrhenius acids dissociate when they're added to water. That means that they break apart into their component ions. So HCl, for example, breaks apart into its ions, into H plus ions and Cl minus ions, just like an ionic compound would. Here's another example of that. Perchloric acid. It's an acid, so it dissociates, it breaks apart when it's added to water. It breaks apart into H plus ions and to the perchlorate ions, ClO4 negative. Also, Arrhenius bases, those compounds that end with hydroxide, dissociate. They break apart into their ions when they're added to water. So for example, potassium hydroxide, that's a base. So it breaks apart into potassium ions and into hydroxide ions. It dissociates. And by the way, that also means that if you were to run a current of electricity through there, these solutions would conduct electricity. They're strong electrolytes. And calcium hydroxide does the same thing. It breaks apart into its ions, and so we have calcium ions and we have hydroxide ions. Now notice that there is a 2 right here for hydroxide. And the reason that's there is to balance the equation. We have 2 hydroxides in that formula right there. So to balance it out, we have to have 2 hydroxides in the coefficient of our product there for hydroxide. Now, as we talk about acids and bases, it's important to understand that acids and bases can be stronger and they can be weaker. Now, when I say stronger and weaker, I'm not talking about concentration. Earlier in this series of videos, we talked about molarity and the concentration of substances. Well, that's not what strength means. The strength of an acid specifically refers to the percentage dissociation of that acid. You see, some acids, whenever you dissolve them into water, dissociate 100% of their molecules. They're 100% dissociated. Every single molecule breaks apart into its ions. On the other hand, most acids, in fact, the vast majority of acids, do not do that. Only some, in some cases, a very few of their molecules actually dissociate and break apart into their ions. Most of the molecules just stay intact and never actually break apart. You see, strong acids are 100% dissociated, and there aren't that many of them. In fact, I have 7 of them here for you. We have hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid, hydroiodic acid, and then we have H2SO4, sulfuric acid, HNO3, nitric acid, HClO4, perchloric acid, and HClO3, chloric acid. These are the 7 main acids that will dissociate completely into their ions. Those are the 7 strong acids. On the other hand, the vast majority of acids, pretty much every other acid that's not one of these 7, is going to be well under 100% dissociated. In fact, a lot of them are way less than 5%. And we call those weak acids. And they're weak acids because they don't dissociate very much. You know, a strong student, a strong chemistry student, does 100% of their work, don't they? They go 100% all the way. But if you have a weak student, they're going to do way less than 100%. So it's the same thing with these acids. 100% dissociated is a strong acid. Less than that, it's a weak acid. And the vast majority of acids, basically any that aren't these 7, are weak acids. Now, if we have strong acids, I guess we have strong bases, don't we? And we can say the same thing for strong bases. The strength of a base specifically refers to how much that base dissociates, how much it breaks apart into its ions. And really, there are only a few strong bases. The strong bases are 100% dissociated, where every single one of the particles is broken apart into its ions, where every single one of those particles has ions swimming around in solution. And your only strong bases are the group 1 and 2 hydroxides. Now, I don't have all of them up here, but I have a lot of them. These are probably the most important strong bases that you need to know about: lithium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, as well as calcium hydroxide, barium hydroxide, and strontium hydroxide. Now, yeah, technically, cesium hydroxide and rubidium hydroxide, a few of those others, those are strong bases as well, but you don't work with those quite as often. So I tried to limit it to the ones that we see most commonly in the laboratory. Now, every other base out there is well under 100% dissociated. In fact, most of them are under 5%. And those are called weak bases. And it's for the same reason. If it's 100%, it is strongly dissociated. It's going to conduct electricity very strongly. On the other hand, weak bases don't dissociate nearly as much. And so if you try to pass a current of electricity through a weak base solution, it's only going to conduct electricity kind of weakly. So we call it kind of a weak electrolyte. Now, let's try an example here. We have a 0.030 molar solution of calcium hydroxide that is prepared from solid calcium hydroxide and distilled water. Determine the concentration of hydroxide ions in the solution. So let's think about this in terms of the balanced equation. We have calcium hydroxide solid that dissociates into calcium ions and hydroxide ions. Notice that there's a 2 right here. And like we said earlier, that 2 is right there because of the 2 that appeared on the reactant side as that subscript. So if the concentration of calcium hydroxide is 0.030 molar, and we're being asked to determine the concentration of hydroxide, hopefully you can see that there's a 1-to-2 ratio here. There's 1 particle of calcium hydroxide for every 2 ions of hydroxide, right out of the coefficients of the balanced equation. So if the concentration of calcium hydroxide is 0.030, then the concentration of hydroxide will have to be twice as much, won't it? Or 0.060 moles per liter. So that's how we can use the balanced equation to calculate or determine the concentration of ions in the solution. Now, as we talk about acids and bases, the definitions that I've just given you, these Arrhenius definitions, are very limiting. And in fact, we have to be honest here and say that the Arrhenius definitions of both acids and bases actually exclude a lot of substances that are acids and bases in real life. And there are a couple other definitions of acids and bases that we use in chemistry, but if you want to learn about those, I'm going to save those for my AP chemistry course. So I do hope you've learned something about Arrhenius acids and bases and how we define acids and bases and how we talk about strong versus weak acids and bases as well. I hope you've learned something from this video. If you did, consider smashing that thumbs up button and subscribing to my channel as well. Join me in my next video where we're going to learn about the pH scale and how to calculate the pH of an acid or a base. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.